name's Andy Briley. I am a PhD student and educator at Leeds Trinity University. This is going to be a short video that introduces my new paper, the first paper that's been published from my PhD study, and it is titled Peer Mentors and Desistance, a Systematic Literature Review and Synthesis. And so to start off, I wanted to explain that the study was to explore the employment, deployment, and then the effectiveness of peer mentors in criminal justice settings, both in custody and in community, so probation settings, across international borders, to try and explore whether the intervention or the approach to help reduce reoffending is effective. So taking a systematic approach, the study explored 27 studies across international borders and found that peer mentors are indeed used in both custody and community settings. And the study found a mixed and inconsistent picture in terms of effectiveness. But part of the reason for that ineffectiveness was the lack of any real definition of peer mentors in criminal justice settings, which also led to an inconsistency in terms of defining what those peer mentor interventions were aiming to achieve. So using two different models, I was able to synthesize the 27 studies. And although there was an inconsistency in terms of definition and also effectiveness of reducing reoffending, that didn't deter me from being able to find really strong evidence of subjective factors that promote desistance for both mentee and mentor. So desistance is the individual and social process that a person goes through when they go from persistent criminality to desisting and ceasing their involvement in criminality. So the subjective factors that promote desistance for both mentees and mentors were a reduction in stigma, an enhancement in coping strategies for both mentee and mentor, the development of social capital, i.e. the ability to be able to access healthy pro-social relationships. It inspired motivation to change as a result of seeing visual examples of the desistance process or the change process. And it also promotes pro-social attitudes, again, both for mentee and mentor. Now, using the two models that I used for the systematic approach enabled me to do an overall synthesis of the researchers' interpretations, but also the conclusions of the studies. And through that synthesis and development of the narrative within the review, I was able to identify three themes that are key factors to peer mentoring interventions. So the first of those themes was what you would call street and carceral capital. So this is a cultural capital that's generated when people are worked with from people that have come through similar experience of criminality and also criminal justice interventions. So, for example, those that we've been worked with in the community can identify and develop some cultural capital with the mentees that they're working with if they've been through street experiences, they've been involved in criminality, they've developed what Pierre Bourdieu would call habitus. And so that habitus can be identified and can develop cultural capital within those that have been worked with in the community. However, the study found that those that have gone through the carceral experiences, often street credibility and carceral credibility, or cultural capital, so to speak, is that those individuals who've been through the custodial experience generally like working with other people that have been through the carceral experience, generating what I define as carceral capital as a result of a carceral habitus. The second theme that was identified throughout the study was one of conflicts to warrants to knowledge. So various studies identified that there is a tension, a conflict between people that develop a recognition of the knowledge that's created through going through the lived experiences, so to speak, of criminality, criminal justice interventions, and even the carceral experience. They identify that there's a real lived knowledge there, and that group can often devalue the trained or professional knowledge of people that have gone through degrees or got a qualification, so to speak, or professional training. Likewise, the people that go through these experiences, the peer mentors, when they're recruited as peer mentors, professionals or volunteers, they can have their knowledge, their experience, their habitus relegated, so to speak, to the bottom of the knowledge hierarchy. The third and strongest theme that was found throughout the study was one of growth reciprocity. So just as Maruna found in his Liverpool Desistance study that someone going through the desistance process and having a new identity, a pro-social identity, can actually become generative and pass from one person to the next, i.e. when the subjective factors that were found that contribute towards desistance, so reduced stigma, developing pro-social attitudes, better coping strategies, motivation to change, and accessing social capital, it means that when the conditions are correct and the peer mentor intervention sits within or alongside formal criminal justice interventions, that actually both mentee and mentor can grow together through the desistance process. So in conclusion to the systematic review and the approach that's been taken to identify the employment, deployment and effectiveness of peer mentor interventions has identified a mixed and complex picture, and therefore, although there are these subjective benefits towards desistance by taking this approach to reducing reoffending, the criminal justice system in different various international borders needs to identify, train, retain peer mentors in criminal justice practice, but most importantly, we need to evaluate the impact of these interventions going forward so we can analyse the impact of the reduction of reoffending through this approach. Thank you very much for listening.